Hi, boys and girls. I'm back to the map that we had before. So before we went where Joshua crossed from Shittim to to Gilgal, circumcision, conquered Jericho, failed in Ai, reconquered Ai, had the encounter with the Gibeonites, and then he went further south. And then we read that he was in Har Eval, Har Grizim, the blessings and the curses. And now he's going further north to Chatzor and these areas. So Joshua is essentially completing the conquest of the land. And that is the part that we're reading. And that brings us up to to chapter 11. Whoops, I went a little too far. There we go. Okay. So we are in chapter 11. Not so good. Let me get all the words into it. Okay, I'm a little bit lost here. So we'll just go. Okay. And when Yavin, the king of Chatzor, so if we go north, I'm wasting too much time jumping around between screens. So we have, I'm so sorry. There we go. Okay. Not doing well. There we go. Okay, so we are here in Chatzor. So Yavin, the king of Chatzor, hears all about what happened with Yoshua, and he is somewhat panic-stricken, and he sends Yovav, Melech Madon, and to Shomron, the king of Afshaf, and other northern kings near the Kinneret, Bashfela, on the coast, near the sea, and the Canaanites, the Emori, Chiti, Perizi, Yevusi, in the mountains, the Chivi, all sorts of peoples that he sends to ask for help. And all of them come out as much as the sand of the sea, Kochol asher al tzfat hayam, we heard that expression before, and horses and chariots, and all of these people are coming together to fight with Joshua. Okay? And God says to Yoshua, don't be afraid of them. Al tiramem, because tomorrow at this time you will see all of them are going to be dead in front of you with their horses, with their chariot. Everything is going to be burned by fire. Yoshua and all the people go to war to Mei Merom, the waters of the heights, Merom, height, and Yoshua succeeds in defeating them till Tzidon. Tzidon is a city in the very north of Israel. Today it would be in Lebanon. And they chased them till Sidon and on to Misrefot Maim and on to the valley of Mitzpeh eastward. So the entire northern front is being conquered, and their horses, their chariots, just like God told Yoshua would happen, everything came to pass. And Yoshua conquers Chatzor and its king. He defeated him, and the old Chatzor, all of these places are all defeated in front of Joshua. And of course, this continues to strengthen his reputation and make all the people and all the cities of the Galil, of the north of Israel, afraid of Yehoshua. And he conquers the cities as well as their kings, and many of them are killed, like Moshe commanded. The cities that stood on their mounds, Israel burned none of them, save for Chatzor. Only that did Yoshua burn. Okay, so some of the cities were burned, save for Chatzor. Chatzor was burned. And all that they conquered in these cities, all the belongings, what's called booty, all the spoils, they call it here, And the animals they took for themselves. Only the people did they defeat. And he didn't leave any of them. Lo hishir kol neshama. He didn't leave any brethren. Nobody was left behind. They were all killed except for the animals that were captured. And this is exactly like God commanded Moshe, and Moshe commanded Yehoshua, and that's what he did. He didn't leave anything out. Yehoshua took this entire area, the whole region, the mountains, and then the entire south, the coastline. So Yehoshua basically completed the conquest of Eretz Canaan, which was what he was commanded to do. Then Joshua made war for a long time against those kings. In other words, it wasn't a piece of cake. None of the cities made peace with Israel except for the Chivi and the people of Givon, the Gibeonites, who got dressed like they're coming from far away, and Joshua defeated them all in battle. And this is all from God to encourage the Israelites and to, of course, raise the reputation of Yehoshua, and nobody survives. Okay, so this was like God commanded Moshe, and Moshe commanded Yehoshua, and none of them survive. Yehoshua came at the time to cut off the Anakim, the giants from the hill country, from Hebron, Dvir, and Anat. So if you are asked about where were there Anakim, Hebron, Dvir, and Anat, these must have been some very tall people, and Joshua completely destroyed them. None of the Anakim were left in the land of the children of Israel, only in Gaza, Gat, and Ashdod. That's the only place where they survived. So Joshua took the whole land according to all that God spoke to Moshe and Yehoshua, and he gave it to the children of Israel as an inheritance, and he gave it to their tribes, the land, etc. Notice that we're skipping a couple of chapters, and we're moving to chapter 14. I have 8 minutes left in this recording, so I could go on a little further. Now, here we're told the places where the Israelites, the places where every one of the tribes of the Israelites settled. Elazar Kohen, Yoshua bin Nun, the heads of the tribes of Israel. These are the people that occupied the various tribes, and they had lots for their inheritance. Lots, like a lottery, for their inheritance. I don't know if they pulled them out of a hat, but basically it happened like God commanded Moshe, and 9.5 tribes occupied the land of Israel. What happened to the other 2.5 tribes? Yes, they stayed in the area of the Emori on the other side of the Jordan because there was pasture land over there, and they asked Moses to stay there. And that's what Moshe promised to those 2.5 tribes, so they stayed behind. Also, Yosef made 2 tribes, Menashe and Ephraim. So Yosef was really divided into 2, and then there was no part for the Leviim because the Leviim really worked in the temple. So they had the cities where they dwelled, open land about them for their cattle and their substance, but basically they didn't have an inheritance. Just like God told Moshe, and that's how the land was divided. And the people of Yehudah, went to Yehoshua in Gilgal, in Gilgal, we've met Gilgal, and Kalev ben Yefuneh, he says the following. You know, Kalev Yefuneh was one of the spies that Moshe sent to spy the land, and Kalev ben Yefuneh came back that the land is a good land and we should take it. So he was rewarded for that. And you remember that God promised Moshe, because of me and you, we are the only 2, Kalev and Yehoshua, that came back with a positive report about what they saw in Israel. Okay, and he says, I am 40 years old. I was 40 years old when Moshe sent me from Kadesh. That's Kalev. He is 40 years old when Moshe sends him from Kadesh to spy the land, and I came back, and all my brothers came with me, and they all said, the other tribes, the heads of the other tribes, and they said terrible things about what they saw in Israel. Okay, and the heart of the people melted, but I followed the Lord, says Kalev. Moshe swears, or Moshe swore in that time that all those people who said negative things about Israel are going to die, and he promised me some special promises. And now, behold, the Lord has kept me alive, as he spoke these 45 years. From the time that the Lord spoke these words to Moshe, Israel walked in the wilderness, and now I am this day 85 years. He is 85 years old now. So it's 40 years later. He was 45, now he is 85. It's 40 odd years after they spent the time in the desert. In the desert, they were for 40 years. And I'm strong this day as I was that day with Moses, and even my strength now for war, and I go out and come. In other words, he says, I'm still in good shape. Now, therefore, give me this mountain where the Lord spoke in that day. Give me the mountain that God promised me for coming back with a positive report from Eretz Israel. And Yoshua blessed him, and he gave him the city of Hebron. Very important. Yoshua gives Hebron to Kalev. Again, we met Hebron. That was the city of Me'arat HaMachpelah that Abraham bought for 400 shekels. So Yoshua gives Kalev, the son of Yefuneh. And therefore, Hebron became the inheritance of Kalev ben Yefuneh, the Kenzite, namely Haknizi, Kenizzite, on to this day, because that wholly followed God and God of Israel. And now the name of Hebron before time was Kiryat Arba, but now it's called the city of the Anakim, and now it's Hebron. We are stopping here, and we will go forward to upload another chapter. Time out.